Episode
Episode
6.
episode
Episode
six.
seven.
No,
Wow,
we
6.
should say this
Really?
is 4. We got 2 lost episodes. Those don't count. So this is episode 4. Welcome to everybody to episode 4 of the Thumbstick Adventurers podcast. I'm Kagros.
IDK.
And juicy samples.
All right, so we got quite a I think a pretty hot topic in the gaming world. I think this is a constant topic that is brought up. I think like pretty often, and a lot of the controversies that you hear about in the gaming world are related to this topic. And so today we'll be discussing the monetization that is found in games. So a bit of a background here. So last week, so this isn't directly related to video games. This first example I'm about to give for the background, but they do have, obviously they do have a video game format, and this is about Magic the Gathering. So last week, Wizards of the Coast, the company that makes Magic the Gathering, announced this new product, this new crossover product with The Walking Dead. And so Wizards of the Coast is offering this package of cards that feature the Walking Dead characters in it. There are 5 legendary creatures, and they are all characters from the Walking Dead show, and they also have some tokens that represent the walkers from the show. And so this product, which is, you can pre-order it now if you play Magic the Gathering and it interests you, is available for $50, and it's available only for a limited time. I think it was from October 4th until like October 11th. So
Wow.
those are the pre-orders, and then if you decide to buy the product, they will ship it to you in January. And these cards are illegal in some formats. They are not legal in most formats, but they are legal in the most popular format called Commander, and they're also available in the really, really old formats. So when this was announced, a lot of the community did not like it because, first of all, it is $50, which is pretty pricey. Although I would say that a booster box of Magic the Gathering costs about $100, so it's not that pricey when you look at individual product. But there are only 5 cards in it. But the
Oh,
problem
wow.
is that these cards you cannot buy them anywhere else because of the licensing issues. It is very hard for them to reprint it, although they have said how they want to reprint these cards. So in the future, if the cards, and there's a huge secondary market for Magic the Gathering, and cards can be very expensive. I'm sure everyone knows how expensive a Black Lotus is. You know,
Yes.
tens of thousands of dollars for that card. So they're worried about these cards. If they're played, then they're going to be really expensive, and we can't really get them, and they can't be reprinted. But Wizards has already said that they can reprint these by giving them separate names, so they can reprint them in other products. But the real problem is that this sets a precedent where Wizards is directly releasing cards for a limited amount of time that you can't find anywhere else in this product, and a lot of players are not happy about that, and they see it as it's a cash grab that really takes advantage of FOMO. So basically, you buy this now, you have to buy this now, or you'll never be able to buy this again, or you'll have to pay a lot of money to buy the card on the secondary market, and that's what the players are not they're not happy about because this has happened before in the past, and where cards that were had a limited release as a single printing, and people were not able to get the cards, and the cards went up in price. So the community, the Magic community, really feels like this is just the tip of the iceberg. Wizards will probably continue doing this for other crossovers. So I'm sure that as a casual player, if you're a casual player and you don't know much about Magic the Gathering, you would think this is awesome, right? This is like I get a nice crossover in my card game. These cards are so cool, right? And that's actually kind of how I feel too. Like I think it's great. Like if you don't like it, then don't buy it. No need to get toxic about it. But people, if you go on like the Magic Reddit, like last week, it was a total like garbage fire. It was just completely crazy. But the problem, yeah. But that was the big problem is the community really felt like they were monetizing this product, or they're really trying to monetize the player base, because there are people that will buy this because they feel like they don't have a choice. Like they want to, like, if I don't buy it now, then it's going to be really expensive.
All right, I have many questions.
Sure.
Just because I'm not too familiar with Magic, but so just to reiterate, so this new, it's not an expansion, right? Is this considered an
It is
expansion?
considered expansion. These are brand new cards.
So when you buy the expansion, do you get all the cards, or is it still uh, random in the sense that you have to buy multiple packs to get
No,
all the
it is.
cards?
You will get one copy of every single legendary creature. It's not random at all. You know
And there's
exactly
only
what's in the box.
and there's only five.
Yes.
So to play devil's advocate, aren't all expansions limited in some ways? Like Wizard of the Coast would someday discontinue printing the expansions, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see a difference between this one and the past expansions.
Mm-hmm. So normally, so for standard expansions, they're printed for 2 years. For
Okay.
more limited expansions, they're usually printed for maybe available for half a year to up to a year. But this is only available for a week. That's the problem. It's only available for a week, and yeah. So
It's only available for a week, and there's no guarantee these cards will ever come back again, right?
yes, there's no guarantee. That is correct.
It's pretty much buy them now or lose out on the opportunity to own one of these characters as an MTG card forever.
More like buy it now or pay a marked up price later, because you can buy it from someone else, right? Yeah.
Right, but what I'm trying to get at is like, not Blizzard. Magic the Gathering isn't going to like make a second edition or third edition of these cards.
Not these
Like,
exact
there isn't
cards.
going to be a
No.
re-release of these things.
No.
No. So like, this is it.
Yep.
You buy now, or you don't get anything.
Yep. That's correct.
And my opinion on that is very scummy move. No bueno. Not happy. And it is an interesting trend we're starting to see more. Interesting to see Magic the Gathering follow up on Nintendo's current blunder of putting out the Mario 3D All Stars collection and putting a date on when you can buy that.
Yep.
Buy it now, or come March 31st, April 1st next year, it's gone.
Yep.
IDK, I was a
and-
victim of that, but I don't know if I'm happy to be a victim, only because it's totally messed up that it's limited in terms of its release. Like, no question about it.
It's even worse. Like, not only that, but then they have that Mario 35 like Tetris Attack clone, and that thing will stop functioning come March 31st, April 1st of next year. Like, just straight up gone. But at least with that, the caveat is that I think it's free to play. You can download it on your Switch. You don't have to buy like the 3D All Stars to get it, which I thought you had to. So you can download it. You can play a couple matches and realize it's trash, and then not care it's going away. But for a 3D All Stars though, and there's going back to MTG, these special cards. It's like you're using FOMO to drive up sales and put everyone in a tizzy. Why? What is the reason? I can tell you Nintendo's reason. It's because March 31st is the end of the financial year in Japan. So they're going to drive as many sales as they can before their financial quarter ends so that they look good on the stock market and for their investors. MTG, I have no clue.
No,
I don't know if they're
come
doing
on.
this.
A move like this is always about money, dude. Right? Like you want to raise those sales.
Well, it has to be about money, but like, is there an actual logical reason behind the money? Like with Nintendo,
No.
okay, sure. COVID's been bad. Their sales had been good because people were buying video games like crazy. Like Animal Crossing, it has done the best, I think, thanks to this virus. So why is Nintendo so worried about their financial records? That they would do such a move. I don't get it. But for MTG to be like, hey, guess what, guys? 1 week, 1 week only. Get it before it's gone. Like, so scummy.
No. So this product
Yeah.
line, the MTG product line. This is under is called the Secret Lair, and Wizard has been doing this for the past year. Where they're called drops. So these drops usually they're actually only available for like 1 day or so, where they will reprint old cards that people play with using different art. And this is the first time where they've actually offered new cards in this product. Most of the time, it was just like new art for these cards, and they are pretty artistically unique. So like if you like the new art, then you buy it. If you don't like it, then you don't. So like then I actually have an example. I have an example. So this I actually have a secret layer right here. Let me see.
So is what you're showing like a different edition?
Yeah, that's what I want to show. Ugh, I just gotta find the cards. I thought I had the card in here, but I gotta use a different one.
But yeah,
they're going to be illegal, so like you can't even use them in tournaments or anything. They're just collector cards.
yeah. But going back, I think if you really want to appease people, you just can't have that pre-order. I think it just has to be a limited expansion where you can get it for, you said half a year. I think if they're able to revert back to that kind of release schedule, then I think it's totally fine.
All right, so this is an example. So let me see here. Let me see if I can get it. So this one right here is the unique art one. This one here is the regular one. So I don't know if you can really see it, but like the art on this one is pretty. It's pretty unique. It's pretty different than a standard fantasy art. So
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So I just kind of want to talk about that briefly because monetization and as IDK mentioned, right? Like this is not just for Magic the Gathering, right? We have seen this FOMO in Mario 35, right? So
And All-Stars.
Yeah, and
3D All-Stars.
Exactly.
3D All-Stars.
So like this, I understand why people are mad, but honestly, the way I see it as a Magic the Gathering player is if you don't like it, then you don't have to buy it, right? Then just don't fall victim to FOMO, right? That's all that matters. You can hate the product because it's FOMO, but I think that you shouldn't get too angry about it and just don't buy it then. Like that's your right as a consumer.
Well, what are your thoughts on Mario 3D All-Stars?
Well, I'm not too hyped about the product, about that game anyway. So like for me, it's fine if I wasn't gonna buy it in the first place. Like, if you were a fan of it, I understand why you'd be angry and you're like, oh, I have to buy this now, right? But like like when there's a game you really like anyway, you're gonna buy it on release day anyway, right? Like like we got FOMO with the hell out of Kingdom Hearts 3 and we got bamboozled, right? So it's the same thing, right? Like if you like it, you're gonna buy it anyway. If you don't like it, then don't buy it, right? Like I feel like the FOMO only affects a very small percentage of people that are like on the fence, and obviously that's what the whole point of the FOMO is, right? Is like to get those people that are on the fence, like I'm not sure, do I want to buy this? Do I don't want to buy this? And like I think when it comes to video games too, right? When you buy a secondhand copy, the original publisher doesn't make anything. So that FOMO is to make sure that people buy it from the publisher as well. So
yeah, if 3D All-Star wasn't limited, I wouldn't have bought it.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. So it affects a small amount of people, but then it's the fence sitters. That's the target.
I feel like for that particular game, I think the fence sitters are quite big.
I mean, for a Nintendo product, yes, but if we're talking about like League of Legends skins or Magic the Gathering card packs, like they're gonna release a pack or a skin or something that is appealing to a smaller audience, and they're gonna be like, "You buy this now, or it's gone." And these people, fearing for missing out on content, will simply buy it.
Yep.
I know, because I wanted them. That is me.
See, the FOMO.
FOMO is very real, and it can catch you off guard.
Yep.
So if it's like something you really like, I think is really unique, or if this is a big one, if the game company or publisher or whatever, whoever's selling this thing says, this is going to come out now, and it's never coming back ever. Ever.
Yeah.
That drives FOMO through the roof. People will be like, where's my wallet? Get in my wallet, honey. Sell the kid. Get in my wallet. We need to buy this right now. We need it right now.
Yeah.
I'm falling victim to that. It is deadly. To your wallet. It is scary. To your wallet. Your wallet hides in the closet. Please don't abuse me anymore. Because you get freaked out. And that's something we can discuss later on when we talk about the League of Legends skins and such. But it's that fear, that drive. They want you. They want you to ravenously consume and eat this thing up because you're afraid of it disappearing into the night.
Yes.
And then when you're done buying it, you go, "Is this really all that great? Did I really need this?"
Yep.
By that point, your money's gone, and they're off. They're chucking the next thing out for the next set of hungry whales.
Yes. So, Mr. RDK, how many kids do you have to sell?
Oh, I sold about 100.
100 kids,
You know,
huh? 100 of your kids?
they're
Wow. Better go make some more.
They're working in the mines, man. They're harvesting them diamonds.
All right. So let's
I
move
put them in
on.
Minecraft.
Let's move on to the other recent event that has happened this past week, and it is Mr. Minecraft Steve. So, I haven't been following Smash a lot, but when this came out, I immediately knew, like, all right, for sure, Microsoft and Nintendo made a deal to get Minecraft Steve into the game. And, so how do you guys feel about Mr. Minecraft Steve in Smash?
Well, I think I'll go first on this by saying I was utterly flabbergasted when I saw the trailer. I could not believe what I was seeing. And then slowly my disbelief sort of turned to rage. I was like, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe they're putting this mean-ass, gimmick-ass character in this game. And I was actually very pissed. I was really angry and upset. I couldn't tell you why. I was. And then I had to sort of settle down and watch the trailer over and over again and look at what he can do. And I was like, why? Why Minecraft Steve? Of all these characters, why? And eventually I got to see some responses from other people who actually play Smash more than I do. Some people hated it, some people loved it, some people were just like, boy, that's crazy. But Nintendo, when's the next fighter? Come on, that's cool, but when's the next fighter? And so that's the sort of stance I've come down to now. It's like, well, I initially disliked it because it wasn't a character I wanted. Now I can sort of see the other side of the mirror. When Joker got announced for Smash and it was super hype, you had a bunch of people going like, lol, what, WTF? Who the heck is this guy? Like, why are they putting this anime character in? It's like, that's my character. I like that. Can't speak shit about it. I like it. Well, now the shoe's on the other foot. Now the Minecraft people are like, we got Steve. We're so happy. And I'm like, bruh, I'm going to let you finish. Sakurai, where's the next character? Where are they? Where's the trailer for the next character? Let's move on from this, okay? That's how I feel about it.
I'm trying to get a list of all the DLC characters, but from what I can remember, there's the Piranha Plant, which is kind of a given. There's Joker, which was incredible. After Joker was Terry? Or is it Banjo?
Banjo.
Terry?
Was it Banjo?
We had Banjo and Hero as a dual release at E3 2019. And then you had Terry.
Yep,
and
Terry.
to finish off the first pack was Violet. From Fire Emblem Three Houses. And Violet was a very, in my opinion, weak ender for the pack. A lot of people disliked it. People were very upset that was the last character. I think it's mostly smoothed over now. Most people are just like, Violet's trash. Who cares? What's the next fighter? And then we got Min Min from ARMS, which I wasn't that excited about either, but I grew to end up liking her. She's really cool as a character. I think gameplay-wise, she's really boring. It's just ARMS. ARMS. It's gonna knock out the stage and keep you off. ARMS. I didn't feel any sort of rage or anger at her like I did with Steve.
So here's the thing. I wanted to bring that up because if you think about all the DLC characters as a whole, I think Steve and Minecraft is pretty top tier. Just with how widespread that game is, how well known that game is, and just how many fans there are. If you compare Minecraft Steve with Byleth, or Min Min, like they do not deserve to be on that list. Like we're talking about a list of legends here. I would even debate that Joker is a little questionable, but Joker versus Steve, like in terms of just coolness factor, of course Joker is gonna be the best, and he's still the very best out of that entire list. But yeah, I think Steve deserves to be up there. And when I saw the news, I was like, oh wow, they actually did it. They did Minecraft, and like what Kagros said about Microsoft making a deal. I think it's a deal where there is no monetary exchange, but I do think Nintendo said all the fans are raging for Banjo. Can we make Banjo? And they're like, yes, but you also have to make Minecraft and Halo,
Yeah,
which I'm
I was
still
waiting
betting
for you
on.
to say that. I was waiting for the chief.
Halo is coming. The Chief is coming. Um,
No,
you took my words.
that is very questionable. But the first part I agree with. I definitely think there was a handshake between Nintendo and Microsoft. They're like, the Western fans really want Banjo. And Microsoft's like, yeah. It used to be one of ours, right? Yeah, we know. We bought it from you. Um, we put Banjo in the game? Sure! They're like, Nintendo's like, really? Like, sure, it's just a ball and chain attached to them, We need to make a deal. So, what do you want? Pulls Minecraft Steve in the corner. He must be in Smash. Poor Sakurai crying, saying, no, it can't be done. It's not possible. It's too hard. Nintendo. Shoot. Oh, poor Sakurai.
If you
So
think
they
about
played
it,
Mr. IDK knows a lot about making good deals, doesn't he?
deal master. I'm better than Trump, 100%. I definitely think it was a deal. Put Banjo in first. I guarantee Steve comes in the next pass, and then after that we'll see what goes from there. And now that Microsoft owns Doom Guy and Bethesda and all their works, like the complicated characters they could technically ask Microsoft for a handshake deal to put into Smash is immense.
I honestly
don't know.
I don't think they'll put Doom Guy in Smash ever, just because of the graphic nature of the game he came from. I don't think Microsoft would be privy to that.
You say that, but we have Castlevania reps.
It's not as brutal as Doom.
We have Solid Snake.
that's true.
Technically,
That's true.
Doom Guy doesn't need to have blood to be effective. He just simply needs a shotgun and a chainsaw. He can cut people up. He can blast them away. Not a big deal. It's not like putting a Mortal Kombat character into Smash, which some people still think will happen. I'm like, no, man. What, you want another MK versus DC thing where, like, the MK characters can't do fatalities against DC characters? Like,
That would be amazing.
Yeah, so I actually think Steve is pretty unique. I think if his gameplay is unique, it looks like it's going to be, because he builds the blocks, right? I think if his gameplay is unique, if his gameplay is unique, then I think it's perfectly legal, or it's perfectly a good choice to put him, because you don't want to put in a character and have him be just another, a rank and file character, right? Like, or standard character. Like, you want to add like gimmicks and things like that. So like it appeals to more people. It opens up new playstyles that people can play with. I think that's the most important part about these DLC characters, right? Like you want to expand your roster, like even though like Joker was like, oh my god, why is Joker in this game? Like when we first saw the trailer, right? And then we're like, this is the best thing ever, right? But like Joker in Smash, what the hell is this, right? Like I think they should do more characters like this. I actually think it's a good idea because it really expands the reach. First of all, it expands your audience, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to play Smash, but I get to play as this cool character. Then I'll buy it, right? But then like there's also like unique characters like Phoenix Wright in Ultimate Marvel, right? It was a very unique character. So if you have DLC characters like this where the gameplay is unique, I don't care what franchise it's from. I think it's perfectly fine. As long as the gameplay is unique and like their playstyle still fits within the Smash game, right? It still fits within, it's not like some I think it's actually better to have characters like this.
So I agree with you 100%, but I do think it needs to come from franchises that are the cream of the crop. And I think Minecraft is definitely up there. And I'm trying to think what other franchises are there that deserves to be a DLC character
Kingdom
that
Hearts.
fits into
Kingdom Hearts.
no, but fits into original gameplay, a unique gameplay
Yeah.
style.
Kingdom Hearts won't.
And Sora, no,
Yeah.
no, Sora's trash.
Yeah, no, not yet. Absolutely not.
Come,
Yeah.
come on, boys. We got blocks. It's time for Tetris time.
Oh my god. No.
Yes, yes, Tetris blocks.
I think we
Here's the
save
thing,
the
though.
Smash discussion for another time. I think that'd be a great topic on characters we want to see in Smash. You know that fits the
Sure.
criteria.
For
But
finishing,
let's
for finishing thoughts on Minecraft, though, I have to say I agree with both of you because after watching the initial trailer, I was pissed and steamed. When I watched the gameplay trailer, though, later that Father Sakurai presented the following, like 2 days later, yeah, Minecraft Steve is actually a very interesting character. He can literally knock you off the edge and then build blocks so you can't edge guard back in. He can edge guard you with blocks. That is insane.
That's pretty
And then
funny.
he has the crafting. He mines the ground. You have materials so you can upgrade his weapons and they break. Like, he has a lot of cool, interesting stuff he's doing. It's just a lot of people were butthurt, like I was, that it was Steve and not, Crash, who had a game coming out, not Dante. When Min Min was coming out, everyone was like, oh, yeah, it's going to be Dante. They just released the DMC games on the Switch. Like, hey, these coincidences keep lining up for Nintendo. And it's like, dude, it'd be a home run if you put Crash into Smash. And nope, it's Minecraft Steve. Like, I guess we just gotta take it as we go,
Mm-hmm.
And Kagros is right in that having characters that expand population for people who want to play. A lot of kids who like Minecraft now will have a character to play in Smash if they weren't already playing it with their friends. People who want to play someone who's not a traditional swordsman will now have a new, unique swordsman with blocks to build with. And why not? Why not? Finally, now, no more memes. No one can spam Minecraft Steve every time a new character is going to come out. It's going to be someone else now.
Yep. Waluigi.
I also have a
Never.
final word. I have final words. Steve smashes. Like, if you think about it, he's in the game and he's smashing. He's always smashing rocks, smashing doors, smashing zombies. He's a smasher.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Smash the poor programmers' brains when they had to make them.
Poor Sakurai.
All right. So let's move on to the next topic here. Oh shoot! Hold on. There we go. Okay. So let's move on to the main topic here. So we're going to talk about the different monetization models that we've seen in the gaming industry over, basically gaming's history. So obviously, and these, I think most of these are, so obviously the very obvious one is that we pay to buy physical copies of the game. That one's a given, right? Like a game releases and we pay for the game, right? Like that's straight up one. So we're not going to talk about that. That's pretty standard. So the first monetization model that I want to talk about is, I think it's probably one of the original ways that developers monetize their games, and it's via expansion packs, expansions. So let me put up. So for example, StarCraft, Warcraft, both of these were ways to monetize their games. So for example, like Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos was, how much was it on release? Was it like $20, $30?
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah.
And then Frozen Throne was $20, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is, and then my childhood was defined by playing Age of Empires. Age of Empires 1 had an expansion. Age of Empires 2 also had an expansion, right? So it was pretty standard for games to have, especially like RTS games, to have expansions that not only tweaked the original game but also gave you more content. And the reason why the expansions were important was in order to update the game. Not everyone had access to the internet, so you can't patch it, right? Like the only way you could patch it is to buy an expansion, and that would patch the game. So I think prior to patches, expansions were the only way to add new content to existing games. And I actually, like thinking back on it now, I actually preferred this way of monetizing. Like, you buy the original game, you enjoy it, and then the expansion gets released a year or two after, and you just buy the expansion to support the developers, and you get like basically it's a brand new experience for the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually miss this way of doing, you know, DLC microtransactions. It's sort of like because they hook you in with the first game and you buy it, and then as you're just getting down around to beating it or feeling like you're tired of it, this brand new add-on comes along, teasing a new story, new characters. Maybe they got a lot of bug fixes, and the thing is, they made it worth your money. They knew they had to sell you up front on this, so they're going to put a decent amount of content in to get you to buy it. That doesn't mean there weren't duds. There still were, but you at least had the opportunity to like not be too let down by buying one of these and adding it onto your game and being like, oh wow, cool, Command Conquer Regular 2, Yuri's Revenge. Like I get to continue the story and find out what happens to Yuri and stuff. Like that was really cool. Nowadays, it's like, oh, well, let's see here. I think the game that doesn't do expansions, it does DLC story. Destiny kind of sells expansions. They kind of do it that way, but they're definitely not up to par.
Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yep.
Like, they're selling an expansion, but it's not very good. Like, it doesn't expand the story very much at all. It really adds in old Pokemon they said they couldn't add in. Mm-hmm. So, and they try to sell you that with a battle pass or something. But these old expansions were a lot of fun to buy too, because they would come in their own box. They'd have 2 boxes for the same game. They had wildly different art. Good times. Those were the old days. The good days.
Well, in the old days, there were some nefarious DLC or nefarious expansions. And you want to know who is the king of expansions back in the day?
Who?
The Sims.
Oh yes, yes.
You got
that's right.
You got like the farm life expansion. You got roller coaster expansion. I'm just Halloween expansion, Christmas expansion. It's nonsense, but I buy them.
This is actually true. I think Roller Coaster Tycoon was the same way too. I believe so.
Yeah. I was gonna say Roller Coaster Tycoon had expansions too for both 1 and 2 that you would buy and add on. And then later on, you just buy the games with the expansions included. It just came all together. Like you couldn't have the experience you were supposed to have with Roller Coaster Tycoon unless you got the expansions. Wow, I forgot about those.
Yeah, but in terms of I do agree with you, IDK. Like I think nowadays expansions. I guess the quality varies still, but I feel like a lot of expansions aren't really worth their money.
Yeah, I could definitely say from experience the first couple of Destiny expansions were not worth the money. The Darkness Down Below or whatever, the first expansion that came out after Destiny first released was not worth it. It was fun for about 3 hours, and that was it. The House of Wolves expansion, which took like 6 months to come out. Again, fun for about 10, 12 hours. A lot better than the first one, but still wasn't worth it. It wouldn't be until the Taken King, when it was like basically a new full-fledged game as an expansion, where it got better. And then it got worse with the next one, and so on and so forth. But it just like seems like expansions for games these days are very hit and miss. I think the one game that's been doing it pretty well is Final Fantasy XIV. Mm-hmm. Their expansions I've read pretty good reviews on. Like Shadowbringers, which came out last year, was very good, and Final Fantasy XIV has been doing so well with their expansions and storytelling that now they're the team that's making Final Fantasy 16. Everyone's really excited about that. But, that's another topic.
I feel like generally with MMOs, their expansions are pretty good. Generally. Like, I wouldn't say they have enough content for them to be worth the money.
It's the thing is with Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft, you're already having people pay a fee to play the game. So if you're going to get them to pony down even more money for an extra expansion, it better have enough to justify the price, so that it's not a free content update instead. I still can't get over the fact that people pay $15 a month to play World of Warcraft. I can't believe it.
It's fun.
I mean, I guess I tried it for 2 weeks on a free pass.
Yeah.
I did get addicted. But I also burned my fingers because my laptop couldn't handle it. So I stopped. But going back to
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to button this up back to expansions. They were a good model for the day. And I still think they're a great model for today, too. I just think companies have sort of abandoned them in lieu of smaller microtransactions people are more likely to buy because people have $5-10 on them they can spend on a rare skin or a rare weapon or a loot box than the $20 to $30 to spend on a full expansion. And I think reviews hurt selling those sorts of products more than just simply loot boxes.
I think something similar to expansions, which I want to hear your thoughts on, is episodic content. Where you release a game, it's considered episode 1 out of 5, 10. It's never 10, but it's episodic content, or it's a game meant for episodic content. What do you guys think?
So actually, this is one of the other topics. So episodic content. So let me give some background about this. So I think episodic content. So I know the big one, at least the earliest I can remember, was Life is Strange. I think this was like 2013, 2014 or so. So Life is Strange, I think, had 6 episodes or something like that, where like they would release over time, and I think and obviously this was a very story driven game, so it definitely lent itself well to episodic content, in the format, and I don't think we see this method of monetization. It's not very popular, but it's still pretty nice because I think each episode was like $10 to $20. I forgot what the exact price was. But it's a great way where like you get a game, you get a part of a game, and you know that the developers are still actively working on it, and then so you pay as you go, and then if at the end of it you decide you want, or let's say that you decide to wait for the entire game to finish, then usually at the end of it they have some kind of package deal where you can buy all the previous episodes. So you mentioned I think so Final Fantasy VII Remake is using this format. Conveniently, Life is Strange is also from Square Enix as well. So, maybe Square Enix is probably one of the publishers that really like this kind of model. But I think that this episodic content is kind of a natural expansion onto, the expansion pack method of monetizing their games. But I think the episodic content style of monetization usually only applies to like story-driven games. Obviously will not apply to multiplayer games usually, and because expansions you can use it on originally it was used to patch things and stuff like that, right? But episodic content is not used for patching. It's to give you more content to build off the previous one, which is it's kind of the same as expansions, but usually the thing they're building on is the story. Now Final Fantasy VII may have update their systems. We don't know for episode 2, but usually.
And I think 7 Remake is not considered episodic. I think story-wise it may be a part of a series, but that's not episodic.
I mean, they're calling episode 1 episode 2, right?
No, they're calling it part 1.
Part 1, part 2.
I think when they I was gonna say, I think when they revealed the plan for Final Fantasy Remake, there was the idea of it being episodic, like cut up into multiple pieces, and we are getting that now with Part 1, Part 2. I mean, who knows how long they'll go along with the parts. But one example I did want to bring up that Square Enix also published. They didn't develop it. They Crystal Dynamics of Marvel's Avengers fame originally made Hitman. Hitman 2014, I think. They did that game episodic. And from the reviews I saw of it, people weren't very happy with it because each episode was like 1 or 2 hits. And so basically you were just supposed to play the same hits over and over and just do random different things to gain like achievements or something. And so I definitely agree with your guys' opinions on that it's best for story-based games. Life is Strange worked with it greatly. Um, MMO that has episodic content works great too. But doing something like Hitman should have worked, but it didn't because there's not enough story. There wasn't enough story in each episode.
Yeah, I felt like that was a really good attempt at it, where Hitman is not story driven, and it's a lot of it's like replaying the same levels.
Yeah.
So I can see their development team saying, okay, we've only made 4 levels. Let's release the first 2 first, and then kind of go until they finish all the levels. But just wanted to shout out the OG of episodic content, which is Walking Dead. I think Walking Dead was
Walking
Yeah,
Dead and
pretty
Game of Thrones.
old.
Game of Thrones too, I believe.
The Telltale?
Yeah, just the entire Telltale series.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because I remember that Back to the Future had a game
Yeah.
by them, I think. That was episodic from parts 1, 2, and 3. And they made it work for a while. People would be willing to buy the next episode. There was also some indie games that did episodic content that worked really well too. But again, it was a big focus on story. You know, each episode had a very, how you say, thick content amount. Like it was compressed. There was a lot of story to go through in each episode to like dig through and connect to the next part. I think the one I'm thinking most about is Inky. That's the name.
What is that one?
Inky and the Blender Machine or something like that. It was like a horror game about like this old animation factory and the guys going into it and like the ink characters that come to life. And each episode was focusing on a different portion of the factory and the story behind it and how it all interconnected together. That did it very well. But definitely with episodic content, it needs to have a strong story. You can cut up into parts and get people enticed to keep playing through and wait for the episodes to come out too. Nothing worse than getting to a cliffhanger and sitting there and realizing that you're not going to be able to play the next part for like a year. Why would I buy this now? I just wait for it to be on sale. Get all of it at once.
Yeah, so actually what I did want to also bring up is I think under expansions as well also fits definitive editions. Right, I think definitive editions are kind of an expansion. So obviously, you know, we all of us like Persona 5 Royal. That is considered a definitive edition. And there are also, you know, Kingdom Hearts obviously does a lot of definitive editions. You know, the final mixes. So I think Remind was probably the first time where they decided not to do a definitive edition and rather just do straight DLC, which I think was a lot better. In that case, you don't have to rebuy the full game. But what do you guys think about, and I think in a sense Pokemon as well, right? Like the third versions can be considered the definitive edition. Like Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Crystal, Pokemon Emerald, and you know, so on and so forth, right? Like those are considered definitive editions. What do you guys think about definitive editions then? Do you think it's a good way, or would you prefer another way of distributing the material?
It's really different though, because of course you can distribute it in a patch as a patch, and just call it definitive edition patch, because it implies that it changes how you play the game in some way, which I think is really important to distinguish between that and an expansion pack. But maybe I don't know. I feel like expansion packs are, at least in the good old days, they were also kind of like definitive editions where it would modify the existing gameplay.
Yeah. I agree with all those points. I'll just add on to that. Definitive editions made a lot more sense to me back when, you know, a game would come out and maybe you missed the first pass of it, and you had to wait for it to come out again. And so time would pass, and then the developers would make some upgrades and add some expansions to the game, and then they would just clump that all together into a definitive edition you could buy later on. If you missed it, like a Game of the Year edition, or Xbox, PlayStation both had a series of games that were like greatest hits, and that would have everything tagged into it. That made sense back then. These days, it's like, okay, so like, what's it called? Nier Automata came out. Then they patched it a little bit, and they put in some extra stuff, some stuff you could buy DLC. And then like a year or two later, they made a Year of the Euro edition. And that completely replaced the base game. You can't get the base game anymore. You can only get Year of the Euro. And that has all the DLC, it has all the updates and everything. And that's it. Which is nice, but at the same time, it's like, okay, fine, cool, whatever. Just buy that edition, I guess.
So I think this definitive editions are more of a Japanese thing rather than an American thing, in my opinion. Or like the whole bundling of all the DLC stuff and then releasing a Game of the Year edition. I think that's I think that's pretty universal. But like all the examples I gave, like Persona 5 Royal, the Pokemon, and like you said, Nier Automata, like those are all Japanese games, and in those cases, like if there's additional content that wasn't previously available as DLC to begin with, right? So like there's two types of definitive editions, right? There's one type where literally they just re-release a game and they just bundle all the DLC and then push it out. But there's another type of definitive edition where they update the systems in the game and then they add in some DLC that was previously released for the previous game and then they push it as a definitive edition that you have to buy again. Right? So it's basically they're charging a full game price for basically an expansion. Like Persona 5, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 Final Mix and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
I do think there is also one more definitive edition. I just thought this while we were talking about Eastern versus Western studios. I really hate this form of definitive edition. And it's the edition you get when the game first releases, It's like, you have the base model, you have like the Assassin's Pack, then you have the Ultimate Definitive Edition. You need to get this one to get all the pre-order bonuses, the special statue, the naked girl poster, and the map of the continent. Like, and it's $350. If you don't get it, you're never getting it. I
see.
I hate those. Ubisoft's guilty of it. They're the ones that come to mind the most. There are other companies that do that too. Those definitive editions are evil because they are also using back onto FOMO, fear of missing out. You're not going to get that cool statue of the character you might like and the map of the continent and a nude girl picture unless you pay 350 buckaroos for that definitive ultimate edition. That is garbage.
Mr. IDK, those are just called deluxe editions. There's a word for it. They're called deluxe editions.
I know, but some companies will put definitive edition on top of that.
Those are usually just goodies, extra goodies, and yeah, I didn't really put it on on the list of topics, but yes, that is another way of monetizing the game is selling the special editions at launch. Usually these things sell out as well. So going back to everything we talked about so far, I think one thing we do need to mention is how predatory and I think we should discuss how predatory each one of these things are moving forward. So expansions. I don't think they are too predatory. Even with the extreme case with The Sims, right? I don't think they're predatory at all. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I would agree. I think the only way you can really see it as being predatory is if it locks out multiplayer behind the expansion, which some of the older RTSs kind of didn't. Like I think Red Alert, you didn't get to have any of the new maps or new units, or you wouldn't be able to play against people who had the expansion. It would be two separate multiplayer pools.
Yep.
You just play with the people who had base game. And so you might feel a little FOMO there, and maybe they might push you to buy the expansion because look at all this cool stuff you get if you buy. But it's nowhere near where other...
Yeah, some of the other things we discuss will be obviously very predatory.
Yeah.
The only expansion that I can think of that's predatory, at least amongst us three, is the Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC because, and the reason why I say that is because people buy it with the intent that they're going to get additional story that follows after the game, and it's predatory because the DLC sucks. Like, it's nothing to brag about. Yet people have to buy it in order to gain a better picture of the entire story.
So I think the remind, I think that falls under DLC. It's not really an expansion, although technically, by definition it is. But I think that does fall under the DLC category, which we will also talk about as well. So episodic content, how do you guys feel about that? Do you guys think that's predatory? Or rather say, do you guys think it's predatory, and can it be predatory? Those are I get those are two separate questions.
Is it predatory? No, not really. Not from the examples we've given. Could it be? It would have to be a game designed somehow to get you really, really attached to the story, so that you desperately want the next episode to come out, and you will desperately want to pay for it. But I don't think there's been a game made like that yet. I don't think they've cracked the puzzle on how to do that. It's much easier to do one of the other methods we've yet to discuss.
Absolutely.
And be predatory in that manner.
Absolutely.
It's too much effort to make a really great story that people are really going to want to buy immediately. Like, the only way I could see that possibly coming into existence is with the new Harry Potter, like, MMO adventure game they're going to release, something, whatever it is. Like, if they have story episode content for that, that might be. If the story's really good, people may either, like, they have to get the next episode, continue the story, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't have enough tooth to it, really force you to have that FOMO of, like, not getting the next episode. A lot of people with episodic games will just simply wait for all of it to be out and then buy it as a bundle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think in the past with episodic content, they're usually spread apart by a few months at least maybe 1 or 2 months, and that also follows with the development cycle and how they make these episodic content. I do think it can be predatory if they were to make a full game already, and then they were to make it
slice it up
into, yeah, they would slice it up. And I think on top of that, if they were to release it on a weekly basis and make it so that in order to, like, I think that they can do that and also not provide, like, a bundle at the very end. Or I don't know, like, maybe it's something where it's like, for example, let's say, like, Final Fantasy VII, right? Let's say it's going to come out as a full game on January 1st, 2021. But if you could buy it in episodic content earlier in the year, like, you could play it in November or something without buying it bundled, but you end up paying a lot more. Now, I think that's predatory.
Yes. So, like,
I don't know.
You said, I think if the developers intentionally make the full game and then they cut it up and say, "Oh, we're going to sell you episodic content," and it's already all done, and then they decide to sell it, that I think that method can be predatory. But like IDK said, I don't think the return is worth it, to be honest, because it would definitely put off a lot of people, and you would not be. You're like, you release a game for $60, right? And then you're like, all right, instead of doing the full game, we're going to slice it up into 4 different parts, and we're going to release them as episodes, and they will each cost $40. Right, so that's $160 for a $60 game to begin with, right? Like, so your return is $100 more. Like, what is that? Like 175% ish, right? But is it really worth it? Like, it's not really worth it to monetize it in that way because some people are going to be put off by it, right?
I think a great example of this, not necessarily in the story category, but in, like, chopping things off that already is a part of the game. People can kind of tell is not there, but should be there. Street Fighter X Tekken.
And that's
that game blew the lid off on this DLC. It killed the practice because the Japanese developers got told by the American ones, "Hey, don't put these characters on the disc and sell it for $60, and then think you can reveal it later. People will hack it and find out. And the Japanese developers' response was, "Well, they won't do that. That's illegal." The American developers were like, "Excuse me? Oh, that's illegal. They never do that. That's against the law." Like, you are way out of touch, buddy. Fine, do it. See what happens. We all know what happened.
Yeah.
People blew up.
I remember that.
Spending $60 to get Street Fighter X Tekken and all the stupid gems, only to find out that some of your favorite characters were on disc already, but you had to pay DLC to get them.
Yep.
Man, people were smacking on Capcom's door. They were pissed.
Yep.
So, the idea of a episodic game trying to do that, and then still having the story there hidden, just waiting to be unlocked, hackers are going to find it.
Yeah, they
You're
absolutely
going to blow yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to blow a hole in your foot,
Yep.
and it's not worth it.
Yep.
Not worth it. There's much easier ways of making money, as we're about to find out.
Yes. All right, so let's move on to the next one. So so the next thing I want to talk about is we're gonna move into our free to play category, and there are actually a lot of things, monetary practices that fall in this category. So we're gonna go over them one at a time. So the first thing I want to discuss is going to be the gacha games. Gacha games / loot boxes, because they're basically the same thing, right? Gacha games and loot boxes, they are the same. Gacha games are a lot more popular in Japan and in Asia, whereas loot boxes are a lot more popular among like the American made or Western made games. So gacha games, I think the very first really popular one, especially when it comes to mobile, is Puzzles and Dragons. I played this for a long time. But Puzzles and Dragons was, I think, probably the very first gacha game that just exploded in popularity. And these guys were printing like $1 million a day. Like the developer was making like $1 million a day at the peak. It was insane how much money they were making. And the great part about it too, talking about Puzzles and Dragons, was that they hid so it's a puzzle game, right? So they say, oh, you don't need to roll the gacha if you're just good at the game, right? Like, you can roll the gacha to make it easier to be good at the game, but like ultimately it comes down to the puzzle skills. And if you're a veteran player, you know that's absolute nonsense, right? You know that's absolute nonsense. Like, there is only so much you can do before it starts becoming random. Because what happens is you match the orbs, and then once you finish matching, right? You get your combo, and then orbs will fall from the sky. After that, it's all luck, right? You're like, oh, just get a 20x combo. Well, it's like, well, I can only get a 10x using the board, so you're telling me to get 10x through random orbs falling from the... Yeah, get the hell out of here, dude. So, like, Puzzles and Dragons, I think, probably, started the whole thing, because actually Puzzles and Dragons, like, the free-to-play aspect, it wasn't too bad. Like, you didn't have to actually pay money, because I didn't pay a single dollar into this game. I still got pretty far, or I was able to do most of the difficult dungeons. They're just free to play. So that's what I think that's what made it really popular, was because you had a lot of free to play players, and then just obviously a few amount of whales, and like they really hit the balance of you can be a free to play player, but if you want to pay, then you can't pay. If otherwise you're a free to play player, we will give you multiple, we'll give you a lot of the premium currency. And then you just use it to roll, and then that way you can keep up a little bit with the whales. And as we advance too, especially in the Japanese games, the waifus, right? You hide all the waifus at SSR tier or the 5-star tier, whatever the highest tier is, right? You hide all you hide all the waifus at the high tier, and then people, they will chase them. They will spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars trying to chase these waifus. So definitely that's how the gacha games work. Loot boxes, I think it's similar concept too. You have a chance to roll something, and I think Overwatch was probably the one that really,
Overwatch was the first big
loot
box game from the West.
Yes,
and
it wasn't even also that predatory. Or Overwatch's loot boxes weren't too bad. But I think we can name examples where the loot boxes were pretty bad. Like, the rates were just so low, and And as we all know now, there's actually legislation to limit these loot boxes because it's predatory.
Hmm.
It's very predatory, and it preys upon the weakest of us. Honestly, people who have gambling addictions, who've stayed away from gambling, they just try to play a game, and then they get presented this loot box, which is pretty much gambling. Just at the end of it, you can't get your money back.
Yeah.
You're putting money into a machine, and you're gonna get a little prize, and maybe garbage. You may be able to like turn into dust or whatever currency you want inside your game, but you're never getting that money back out. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for that, I mean, the predation is just, it's a massive. I mean, this is a wolf with huge fangs. It's sunken into multiple games, multiple genres. I think the worst, of course, being the sports games.
Yeah.
They've been hit pretty damn hard by this. There's been FIFA, NBA, the NFL games a little bit, but mostly the soccer and basketball. Actually, soccer, because it's a worldwide audience. So, a FIFA game comes out, you want to build your favorite team.
Are they loot boxes?
EA,
Is it loot boxes?
Hmm.
yeah, EA, it's loot boxes.
Holy
Like,
crap.
Belgium literally banned the loot boxes in FIFA. EA had to turn them off in Belgium. So now it's just, I don't know how you earn the characters in that game now in Belgium, but yeah, it's bad. And the rates for getting your characters were super low. They are egregiously low. You had kids spending £2,000, spending hundreds of euros just to get their favorite soccer ball player. And they'd be like a tier S character, but you only get like a rank 1.
Oh, you
You'd get multiple copies
Yep.
to rank it up to the next level.
Oh
And then
boy.
this would go into multiplayer. And like these people with these super powerful teams until they spent thousands of dollars. Only a few who just have the freebie characters and they're all garbage. So then your game is ruined. It's all loot box. And it really was Overwatch who was like, look, we can put this microtransaction thing in to replace having a normal skin store and just make it so that people pay a small fee to roll the dice and get hooked.
You never win.
You
You
got
roll the dice,
hooked.
you never win. You roll the dice, you never
No.
win. The story of my life.
So Overwatch was inspired by Hearthstone, which we all know the precursor of loot boxes is actually going back to Magic the Gathering.
Yes, the card
right?
packs. Absolutely.
So
Card packs,
I
yeah.
I think talking about rates, yeah, I don't know. Again, you kind of brought this up, Kagros, like might as well just not play the game, right? Like if you don't want to give your money to these companies, then don't,
Yeah.
and don't play. You know, with Hearthstone in mind, that's why I stopped playing,
Mm-hmm.
just because, well, the game's kind of boring. But yeah, like I can never, you know, be able to play with the best decks just because I don't pay. And you know, alongside with like FIFA, with that example, you're always going to lose if you play for free.
Yeah.
So why play?
And that was the thing too. Overwatch and FIFA weren't free to play games putting loot boxes in. Before this, loot boxes were mostly in free to play games, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, you get the free entry. But if you want the premium stuff, you pay a little money and roll the dice and get some good stuff. But now this was buying a $60 game, having to rely on random rolls to get content you wanted in the game that you already paid for. It's in there.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta roll for it, and rolling costs you money. Or at least in Overwatch case, it was experience points, but that grind just got really hard as you go higher up. You know.
Yeah.
And
So
it,
yeah. So I think Juicy brought up a good point about the card games. Like card packs are the original loot box, right? The original loot box, and But I do think that certain card games you can do it quite well. So like I said, like Hearthstone, right? So Hearthstone, obviously nowadays, these online CGs, they do not have any ways you can trade with other players, right? Because they're worried about people creating multiple accounts and then trading the cards. That way you don't have to pay, right? Like that obviously that's how they feel about it. But like I think Hearthstone's game was okay. Like there are certain decks you can play. Like if you're a free to play player, there are certain decks you can play that you can build with dust and things like that. because I've made multiple tier decks, but like the really like what was like the Reno decks. Oh, I can never build those decks, right? Because they're singleton, and you literally play every single legendary. No way in hell am I gonna have them, right? So like I
Yeah.
understand, and the rates for legendaries, I think it was like 1 in 20, 1 in 20 packs, right? I think that was the rate.
Something like that.
About
One
so,
one in
yeah.
30, maybe.
Yeah, I know for me
Yeah.
the rate was
And
pretty
they had
bad because my luck's just terrible. For me, it's like 1 in 30. I think the normal rate is 1 in 20, but like me, like yeah, nah, like I didn't like I
and
remember like certain
the,
times like we would all have like 20 30 packs, and then we would like, oh, we're gonna open them on release day, and then we open them, and then like I would get like 2 legendaries, Mr. IDK would get like 4 or 5, and then Juicy also gets 4 or 5. I'm like, dude, I only got 2, and one of them is a guaranteed one.
yeah, at least they had the guaranteed legendaries.
It was just
Or like
one, just one. Are you kidding me?
they had the role protection of you didn't get one eventually it would trigger. But that's the thing. If you get sort of scammed for a long time, you're gonna stop buying. So they had to put in that protection to ensure, oh, we gotta keep it going, They're
Yeah.
gonna keep spending money, keep buying packs. Eventually they'll hit big.
Yep.
Keep going, they'll keep spending more money. If
Yeah.
you don't hit it big, you walk away.
Yep.
So
And
but
yes.
that's where the predatoriness and the egregiousness comes from selling full price games, taking these free to play microtransaction things inside of them and going, okay, you're paying us $60 to play the game, and you're going to pay us hundreds of bucks to unlock content in the game via these rerolls. Whereas before it was completing the game, or entering in cheat codes, or finding secrets in the game to unlock special stuff. Now it's all money.
Yeah. So going back to the card games that I was saying as well. So we've all played Hearthstone, and we know how, and it's definitely very difficult for a free to play player to play certain decks. Like I think you can reach Legend in certain metas as a free to play player. Like Grim Patron meta, absolutely you can hit Legend with a Grim Patron deck, right? It actually didn't use that many legendaries, and the namesake of the deck is a rare. Is a rare you get in the expansion or in the Blackrock Adventures
Yeah.
expansion,
Hmm.
right? And I actually like that the adventures way they did it, because like you pay a flat fee of gold, and then you get all the cards basically in that expansion. Like the expansion, I think it's like
Yeah.
20 cards. Like it isn't much, but like I think it costs like 3,500 gold, which wasn't egregious. That's like 35 packs, right?
Yeah.
35 packs
Uh-huh.
worth. But like you get like multiple legendaries, you get one of all legendaries, you get all doubles of all the epics, right? And you get everything. I actually really enjoyed, that kind of
I mean
rather than card packs, because I knew exactly what I was getting.
that's a little predatory, right? Because with Hearthstone you had to buy it in wings, and let's
Yes,
say like the
yes.
fourth wing had the best cards,
Yeah. So
and you want those cards to play, you know, with the best deck,
yes, yes, yes.
but you had to buy the
Yes,
previous
and yes,
three.
that is correct. That is absolutely correct.
So
But I actually preferred
um,
that than card packs, to be honest, because it's not random. Like you know exactly what
Yeah.
you're getting, and
mhm.
like I think it would be really predatory if it forced you to use. Wait, was there? If it forced you to use actual, it was literally gated with like Hearthstone doesn't have a premium currency, right? It doesn't have a premium currency, but like
Yeah.
in certain games, like they lock this shit behind premium currency, and it's really really annoying. And I'll go and okay, and also in certain gotcha games too, they actually make a distinction between non-paid premium currency and paid premium currency. And
Hmm.
so they'll have special like gotchas where you can only use the paid currency and the rates are higher. You can't use the free premium currency that you get. And this practice, I think is pretty recent. I think it's probably picked up steam within the past 3 or 4 years. But it's really disheartening as a free to play player, because I actually like playing games where there stuff like Puzzles and Dragons and stuff like that, where it isn't too predatory, where a free to play player can kind of like are probably equal, or they can be equal with pay to play players. But like games where like, oh, it's really disheartening to see that, oh, this is only available if I actually pay for the currency rather than having the free currency, because I actually think it's there, like there's an art to it, right? Like if you're gonna play a game like this, right? Like you're a free player. Like that's the challenge of the game of the game, right? Like I'm a free to play.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna spend a single dollar in this game. watch me hang with the whales, right? And then like you spend months saving up this premium currency, right? I know I do. Like I spend in Fire Emblem Heroes, I spend months, and then you watch me in one video just blow it all, trying to max out a character, right? So like stuff like that is like if you have good time management and all this stuff, you can get these powerful characters. Like you can't get all of them like a whale could, but you can get
Mhm.
you can get enough so that you can hang with them because you don't need like in Fire Emblem Heroes, you only need 4. You only need to field one team, right? You don't need all the characters to do it. You only need 4. So like that's one thing I do enjoy. But like so going back to the card games as well, like Hearthstone is it's kind of hard, but Magic Arena does it quite well. I'm a free to play player. I can play every single top tier deck, no problem. I can play every single one, no matter how many mythics the deck needs. I have them all. I'm a free to play player. There's a lot of people that feel like Magic Arena is not accessible, and that is one thing I heavily disagree with those players because I started playing on day one, and I think by probably the third month I had access to all the tier one decks. It wasn't difficult. So there are certain card games, and that's because Magic is very generous with the currency. And one thing that Magic does have is keeper drafts. Like Hearthstone doesn't have it. Like and I understand why Hearthstone doesn't have it because you can't just be throwing legendaries into players. And but because Hearthstone you could play what were they called again? The Ford? No, what was it called? The Arena? Yeah, it was called the Arena, right?
Arena.
The Arena, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like you could get one arena run. Like it was 150 gold. So that's like probably 3 days, 3 or 4 days of playing. Because like each quest was like 60 or 40 or 60 gold each, right? So you finish three
Yeah,
quests
yeah.
and then you get a run. Whereas in Magic Arena, I think it's how many? You needed like 5 or 6 days, starting from 0 gold. You need 5 or 6 days of quests and victories, and then you can do a draft. But you keep all the cards in the draft, and obviously, if you go high enough, you'll get all your currency back, and then you can jump into another draft for free, basically. You can go
Mhm.
infinite like that. So I think there are ways that card games can be accessible, but going back to the whole loot box thing, like it's definitely predatory, right? It's definitely predatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
And
there's
they can.
yeah,
I was just saying, and in those situations where developers notice free-to-play players are finding a way to game the system or actually are surviving and not having to pay, all it takes is one button press to make the hard-earned characters they earned or the cards they got nerf them.
mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they would just intentionally or maliciously. I'm just saying maybe some of the developers like, hey, we need some more cards bought, you know, and like maybe a certain legendary, like say Hearthstone, a certain legendary card is doing really well, and a lot of people are building a certain deck, and all the free to play players are just spending their dust to make those legendaries for that deck. Then they nerf it, and they don't give dust refunds, and it's just like you blew all your resources on this card because this deck was really strong. Now you've lost all of it, and now you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have that option to do that, to sort of take away what resources you've gathered and used, like the best deck, and then just sort of punish you for it. Whereas a whale, they're not going to care because they have all the other legendaries. They'll just move to a different deck.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I think this. So I think we can all agree that this system by nature is predatory, right? Like there like I've given examples where there are ways to make it not so predatory, right? But I think at its core, loot boxes, gacha games, card games, it's predatory, right?
Yeah, it's designed
Only if it affects only if it affects the gameplay. Like if they had loot boxes of skins,
Mm-hmm.
go for it. Go
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I think that will. I think that's something that's been addressed by Riot Games very well with League of Legends. The loot box system in that game is all about cosmetics. We can talk about them later. I think when it's in that situation, it seems a little better. It's still predatory because you're going to have prey on people who want the latest skins or like want certain things they can only get through loot boxes. But at the very least, people aren't paying for power in that sense and not warping the game.
Mm-hmm.
As A certain game that just came out recently, Genshin Impact. People will be dropping a lot of money.
Are you playing that?
People will be dropping a lot. No, of course not.
I have friends playing that, and I'm like, dude, no, I'm not playing that, dude. Are you kidding me?
I mean, I watched someone beat the game. I saw the whole story pretty much all the way through, kinda. But the guy dropped $1,300
Yeah, no.
to get the strongest character that's been released so far, and like he has a bunch of other strong characters too. And it's like he's just walking through the game, and it's like it's got $1,300 on this. $1,300. Like, okay, I'm not one to talk about my spending purchases on these games. I spent more than that on League of Legends, but that was over 10 years of buying skins and champions and stuff. I'm like, I have that forever. Like, that's not gonna go away. $1,300 in like 1 month for Genshin Impact, and the next pass or next expansion that'll come out may make those characters irrelevant. Like, what did you spend on? What are you buying this for? Like, yeah, it is predatory, and it works on FOMO too. And just like the name Gotcha, it's Gotcha and it's grip.
So
I do have it installed. I do want to play it one day just to see what the hype is about.
this
I
is
mean, I won't lie, I'm 10.
this is just a comment from me. I feel like China is China. They've been killing it in the mobile market. They have released several really good mobile games. I think back in the past, I feel like the only good mobile games that came out of them, I think, were like the music ones. I forgot. I think was it what was the name of that really good music game that came out? I know it was a Chinese developer that made it. Let me see.
What was it on?
It's on mobile. It was a mobile game. Crytek Crypto. I had it on my phone, but I'm pretty sure it was a Chinese-based game. I'll look it up later. But I think China they've been really making some pretty quality games, even though like they have like I played this tower defense mobile game, Ark Knights. That's a Chinese-made game, and they definitely they tried to copy like they went with the Fate Grand Order style of the mobile game where it's characters first, characters absolutely first, and no PvP. So everything was just strictly on for character development, and the stories. So definitely, I think the quality of Chinese mobile gaming has definitely gone up. Like they have made several high production games, quality games. I feel like so. I think it is definitely worth mentioning. So and then the skin loot boxes, we can touch on that later. I do have a comment on it, but I'll talk about it later. So the next thing to discuss are we've kind of highlighted this before. Puzzles and Dragons is definitely also falls under this category, but I call them time lock games, but it's like stamina driven game or energy driven games where you have a bar that fills up over time that tells you when you can play, right? If you play too much, then and the bar depletes, you can't play anymore. So obviously we all know where this came from. It is our favorite game, Farmville. Game, depending on what you say, Farmville, right? I think so. Farmville. Did Farmville actually have energy? I don't even.
Yeah.
So yeah, your time locked.
Yeah. So okay. So this is okay. So I don't think Farmville didn't actually have energy, but it was a time lock game, right? Or you had to wait for your plants to grow. And
You're waiting to do something,
just wait.
Tend your farm or something.
Yes, exactly, right? Like it was the progression of the game was locked by time basically. And and I think the energy bar has been a mainstay of mobile gaming. Like a lot of mobile gaming uses a time lock system so that you can't play forever.
Yeah, and you have games like Plants vs Zombie when EA bought the developer that made that, and they made the sequel to it, and it went on mobile. You had an energy meter that would determine how long you could play, basically. And that game also had horrible microtransactions in it that basically forced you to buy, otherwise you couldn't progress in levels, because you wouldn't have the strongest plants to go through. But it's interesting because there are games that have an energy meter, and it kind of feels like it's just tacked on so that it's there. I'm thinking again, Genshin Impact has an energy meter in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you technically have an energy meter in that game, but the thing is they overload you with so many energy points from the beginning that you don't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's literally only there just so that people at the end of the game, once they've beaten everything and they're grinding, eventually they'll run out of energy time. But it's there to stop free to play players, basically. You get a limited time to play the game, to enjoy it, to get addicted, and then whoop, you're locked out. And it's either you buy more time, you buy more energy from the store, or you wait.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays it is done pretty well in the sense that you have enough time to play enough of it, and then once it's over, you're like, oh, I'll just wait till tomorrow. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think, like I said, some games will just give you a whole bunch of energy at once from uh, completing levels. You get bonuses like material bonus and like energy bonus, and like the energy bonuses can go over caps. So like you have a cap of like 50 energy, but you have 300 energy stored up, and like it doesn't disappear. So you can just keep sitting there and keep playing. Eventually, you'll run out of energy because they'll stop giving those bonuses. But for the first couple hours or maybe a couple of days, you're hooked. You're gonna keep going. And then by the time you run out, you're like, I need more. Or, the people, again, the people who are most weak to this will say, I need more. I want to keep playing. And they'll buy the energy to keep playing. Other people will just go, well, I'm not going to waste my money on that. So I'll just wait. But the thing is, they're so hooked into the game now, they will wait, play again, and then wait, and then play again. Now you've got them hooked into a habit. They're not going to leave. They're going to keep playing. And if you find a way to offer them something they want, they will buy it. A skin, a tool, an in-game object. This just brought up the GTA 5, the shark cards, and the multiplayer for that game. They don't even do DLC for the single player anymore. It's just all multiplayer. And they've got people so hooked they'll sit there and just wait, play that game instead.
So, by the nature of this, do you guys think this is predatory?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if it's as predatory as, say, loot boxes or gacha. I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, all of these things are predatory, for sure.
I mean, they're designed to hook into you, and either you are spending money to roll for the strongest characters, or you are spending money to get more energy so you can keep playing and get ahead of other players. Like Clash of Clans. You have a limited number of options. You have a limited number of spaces. You can pay money to get more room and pay money to get more energy so you can keep playing. And if you don't pay money, you will not be able to compete with the top guys who are dumping money into the game. Progression is addiction. You want to keep progressing. And they can make a stairway to greatness as long as complicated as they want.
If I had to choose, I guess the lesser of two evils, I would pick time lock for sure. I don't think it impacts me the most because it doesn't really impact gameplay, in my opinion.
So I actually think a good way to describe this is I think that this kind of style is like a gateway drug, right? Like IDK mentioned, right? It's a gateway drug. It gets you hooked into the game,
yeah.
And then you'll spend the real money on the skins and loot or other microtransactions that are probably featured in the game. So I think this is a gateway drug. I don't think it's as predatory. I think it's slightly predatory in that it gets you hooked into the game. But games naturally they want to hook you anyway, right? Like that's normal. But this is this just kind of pushes the meter towards you, pushes the meter faster. So I think it's predatory, but it's not very much so. Okay.
Yeah, it's there to hook you, but it's not nearly as bad as loot boxes.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to the next one. So the next topic of discussion is Mr. IDK's favorite. It is skins. Skins. It's usually skins. So I'm not sure where they first started. I've read about Oblivion's horse armor pack.
That I think was the first instance of DLC armor/skins for a character, and the blowback to that was obviously huge and massive. People were very upset. It was like $11 for some crappy horse armor. Everyone's like, "This will never take off. This is stupid. How greedy of them."
They made a lot of money off it, though.
And 10 years later,
they made
that horse armor is basically nothing. Like $11 for horse armor? Are you joking me? There are way worse things.
They actually
now.
made a lot of money off that horse armor, by the way.
Oh yeah, they did.
They made a lot of money.
Like,
so
yeah,
definitely the horse. I think probably the horse armor is the earliest thing I could find, but the skins were definitely popularized by I think Team Fortress 2 with the hats, and then but League of Legends took it to a whole nother level. Right?
Yeah.
League of Legends had it, and then fighting games had costumes, but you didn't really have to pay for them until I think like probably after League of Legends when the DLCs started coming out and things like that, and then where you had to start paying for fighter packs. Do it.
Yeah.
It definitely was. I'm thinking like, it definitely you had to pay for them when fighting games got revitalized. I'm thinking Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
Had skins you could buy from the store or pre-order bonus skins or whatever, stuff like that. Like before that, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 didn't have skins. Street Fighter 3 didn't have skins. They sold expansions for those games. But Street Fighter 4, Marvel vs. Capcom, I think 3 had skins.
3 had skins. 3 had skins.
Yeah, I don't know if you could buy them. I know you could buy characters. You could buy Jill and
they had DLC packs.
They had DLC skins. Okay.
Yes, they did. Yes.
I wasn't too familiar with that one, but League kicked it up a notch because they delivered high quality stuff. Like, skins looked good. The splash art for them looked cool. Like, and if you played a character and they got a skin released from and it was limited, it wasn't going to go back, you sure as hell bet your butt I was going to put money in the system and buy it. It's like, it was cool.
Heck yeah.
And I thought, and it's like, you try to rationalize and go, well, I don't need the skin, I don't need it. But then you see other players playing it. And it looks cool. And your skin looks like trash. Or you have base. And especially now, I mean, it wasn't as big of a deal back in the beginning. It was more about the theming of the skin. Nowadays, though, with League especially, certain skins just simply look way better than the base. Just because it has a new model, has new effects, it has new textures, has a new VA. Like, it has all the bells and whistles to make you want to get it. And for some champions in League, you literally need a skin to play them properly, because otherwise, playing the base skin is so bad, you just can't play it. And I'm thinking like Rumble, dear to my heart, can't play base Rumble. It's just too ugly.
Why not?
It's just too clunky. It's too clunky.
No, man,
you have to have
fine.
you have to have Super Galactic Rumble because it's smoother, it's cleaner, it's not janky. Who else? I mean, there's plenty of other and you can find multiple examples of characters from that game. I know this is getting long-winded. There's multiple champions of multiple skins where it gives them a boost or benefit, but it's feel better to people who play the champions. And I don't understand how the heck Riot messes it up, but they do. And there's an entire list of champions and their skins that are the entire list of champion skins that are banned for being used in pro play.
Because really? I didn't know that.
Now they've been slowly chipping away at them so they can be used, but for a long time, Blitzcrank had his skin. There's basically an Apple skin version of him that was banned from pro play because the hook comes from the center of the body instead of to the side, and it's a bit faster and harder to see.
Interesting.
For a long time, that skin was banned. You couldn't use it. So the thing is, going back to these skins, if you want them because it's for your champion and you're hooked to League because League will hook India, you will throw down the money. You will spend it, and you will get that skin. And then a month later, another one will pop out, and you'll be like, I want that skin too. And before you know it, You stop buying regular games. You don't spend $60 on a game anymore. You spend $100 a month buying skins for a game, even for characters you don't really even play. You're like, oh, that's a cool skin. I'm gonna buy it. Boom, you buy it, and then you end up with a huge collection, and you find out you've spent quite a bit of money in 10 years.
Thank you for sharing your addiction, IDK. This is the Lulskin Anonymous.
I keep the game free, okay? Y'all should thank me. I keep it free.
So I think I've played in League for for the same time period as IDK, but I think IDK's been playing a lot more. And I actually I finally, after playing the game for like 5 years, I dropped $5 to buy a skin, and I think that was it. I myself am fine with playing with the base. Like I don't really get FOMO'd. And when I came back to League last year, now they have a system in place where you can actually play. You can actually get skins for free. You don't have to pay. You just have to play. And then eventually they have a crafting system where you can get skins now, which is great. So now I think that it's better like this. But I do want to point out that in the early days of League, when I first started playing back in like what was it, like 2011, you could actually modify your files so that you can have the skin. People made custom skins for their champions. I remember because I used to custom Ash skin for a while, and then eventually, they patched it out. Like you can't do it anymore. So skins are definitely, and obviously it was losing the money because why pay for a skin when you can just get it for free, right? So definitely skins. It was a moneymaker. It is still clearly the moneymaker for Riot when it comes to their game. And yeah, so how predatory do you guys think these skins are? And obviously, Mr. IDK's opinion on this weighs a lot more heavily than me or Juicy's, because he is, as we said, an addict.
Oh, it is super predatory. I mean, like, even more so than gacha or loot boxes, because you know what you want. You can buy it. It's direct. Like, you put money in, and you buy it. And just by nature of playing League, or any game with skins, really, as you play the game more, as you get more addicted to it, as you get more characters you're comfortable with, that means there's more skins for you to buy. And you do get sort of this worm in your head saying, you gotta remember to buy skins because that's how you support the company. That's how you keep them alive. You don't want your collection to disappear. That is a big fear too. If like League shuts down and disappears, where does all that money go that you spent? It just vanishes. And you tell yourself, well, I played a bunch, I got to use all the skins, I enjoyed it, I had a good time. But there's still that sort of panic, that sort of fear. And I imagine for people who played other MOBAs that had skins that died, like, that happened to them. Their money investment's gone. Like, even games that were like, Heroes of the Storm, which isn't dead, people are still playing it, has a skeleton crew maintaining it. They're still releasing skins for that game. But, is it really worth it buying skins for that game anymore? With it being sort of like a pseudo comatose state? Probably not. But if you bought a whole bunch at the beginning, you're going to keep playing it. Because that sunken cost fallacy is going to keep you hooked. That's kind of what keeps me playing League. At the very least, what keeps me logging back in to make sure no one steals my account. Because I have stuff from way back in the beginning that's super rare. Not the rarest of rare. I don't have Black Rammus.
Bowser
Rammus or UFO Corky or Black Alistar. But like I have the original Season 2 Ribbon given out at Worlds. I have some of these really old rare skins that people would like to have, but they haven't been re-released. Or they have been, but in a modified version.
This guy went to Worlds and didn't tell me. I still remember that. He was like, I just got back from Worlds. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, I know. It was a 12-hour drive. I almost died. But that's another story. But the thing is, though, back in those early days, they really could hook you on a skin sale because it was like ribbon. you wanted to go to Worlds to get that skin card because that was the only way you were going to get it. No, you could buy her, but you paid to go to Worlds to get it for free, basically, and get the card. But they basically said, look, it's only available during this time period, during Worlds. You buy it now, or you will never get it ever again. And they held to that for 5 or 6 years. And then out of the blue, they're like, yeah, you know what? All these skins that you guys couldn't get before, since most of the people who got them probably don't play anymore, we're going to let you buy them. They're just going to be modified. And everyone else who had the old skin, we get a special little modifier on it to signify it's the first edition of that skin. They kind of destroyed some of the magic of it. Like, there's a gatekeeping idea behind that. We're like, I have this skin. I got it. It's mine. No one else can have it. Like, and the idea of other people getting it kind of pisses you off because you were there, you paid for it, or you got it for free, whatever, and now other people are going to get it. And so that kind of breaks the veil of, you have to buy a skin because it's not going to be available anymore. Like, now it's like, great, limited edition. When are they going to re-release it? 2 years from now? 3 years from now? Am I really going to care? But skins, we're going to go back to the base of the topic. Skins are a very potent way of getting people to pay microtransaction money for your game. And the fear of a sunken cost fallacy is you buy these things willingly, keeps you playing. Even if the game turns to shit, you're still going to keep playing because you don't want to lose out on everything you invested in.
Mr. Juicy, your thoughts?
If I can buy a custom skin for my Chun-Li on Street Fighter 4, you bet your bottom dollar that I will support skins for the rest of my life. I think skins are a fun way to enjoy what you play, especially if you feel like it's a cool way to play your characters, and it's a good way to represent yourself, who you are. So I totally welcome it. I don't think it forces you to have to buy skins. I think games in general is always like a sunken cost fallacy where you have this entire backlog of games that you've owned but never played, but you're gonna play them eventually because you spent money on them, right? So yeah, I think skins, I definitely welcome it. I don't think there's any predatory nature behind it at all. I think it's definitely psychological and it's on you.
Hey,
What do you think about that, IDK?
Speaking about games I need to play, this one's been sitting for a while here.
Oh yeah.
Kagros,
I still have Red Dead that I need to play.
You have to play that game and beat it so we can talk about it.
Don't worry. I got my PlayStation back. It's on deck, dude. It's on deck. Don't worry.
No, I can understand that viewpoint, Juicy. I mean, especially for like fighting games, I think, where you have one character and maybe you buy like a special skin they have or like a series of colors, like a color set, like Arxis games. Totally understandable. You buy one, you're done for that one character. Maybe pick up another character and you buy their skin or whatever. It looks cool. I mean, it's just a league. There's so many characters that you're gonna want to get a cool skin for them. Like, I still remember my first skin. I know what the first skin was that I bought in League of Legends. It was literally a Halloween skin for Nidalee. I'd only played the champion 5 times. It was the first champion I played in League of Legends. I got raged on. I got raged at playing League of Legends. My first game with regular people because I didn't know how to use her properly because I was a noob. Okay, mm-hmm. I wasn't even aware I was getting raged at, but I got raged at. And I loved the skin so much, Bewitching Nidalee, because she was a witch. She transformed into a black cat with a cool hat, and little spooky bats that flew with her spear when she threw it. Like, it was awesome, and it was limited time. It was going to disappear, and I was like, okay, I'll spend money for this skin, and that's it. 3 months later, I bought Irene.
What a slippery slope.
At Christmas time, I got her whole pack, got the first 2 skins, got her for RP, and that was the end of it. After that, I started spending money And I was like, okay, fine. I will spend $60 on this game, but only if I decide to give up a $60 video game I was going to buy. So there's a lot of games I didn't play on PS3 and PS4 and on PC because I was playing League. Because all the money was being funneled into that.
So
But is it the most egregious thing? No. Loot boxes and gacha are, I think, in my opinion. Skins are a second, depending on if you're like me or if you're able to handle yourself better like Kagros.
all right.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think, Kagros?
so I think skins, direct sale skins where you know exactly what you're buying, not predatory at all. You know, like they say, all right, you buy this skin for this much money, fine, no problem. Especially if it's a free to play, game, perfectly fine, right? And obviously, skins are most like the most prone to being predatory. It's obviously in multiplayer games where you can see other people's have skins, right? Like that's if it's a single player game, there is no problem. Skins can never be predatory. I don't think there's any way it can be predatory, in my opinion. If it's a free to play game and it's a single player game, I don't think it's gonna be predatory. Multiplayer game though, it could be because you want to show off. You know, oh look at me, I'm so cool, right? Like I can understand that, but when you combine skins and loot boxes, that's when it gets predatory. Where you don't know what you're buying, then it gets predatory. 100%. When you combine, but obviously we said loot boxes were predatory to begin with in the first place, right? But the reason why
Yeah.
loot boxes can be predatory is because they have the special skin inside or something special inside. Usually it's a skin, right? Usually it's a skin. So I think skins as a direct purchase, they're fine. That's fine because you know what you're getting. But when there's a randomness involved, then it's not okay. So when it turns into a loot box where you're like, okay, you can spend money, you can get one of these skins. That's when it gets predatory.
Yeah. And I think we can transition this into our next topic because League has been doing some interesting things in this regards with battle passes, with things you can buy and play a whole bunch to grind up points for certain rewards. League has been introducing skins that require you to buy a battle pass, which costs about $15 a pop, maybe more, depending on your region. And they will have a skin they're releasing. That patch, the pass comes out. It's a base skin. It looks cool. But in the pass, one of the rewards you can get is the Prestige Edition skin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually a gold-colored, alternate-colored skin, or variant of the same skin. And it'll cost points you can only get by playing if you purchase a battle pass. And you can't buy that skin for money. That Prestige skin. You have to earn it. That's where it starts getting a little predatory because you get people who like the skin, want the Prestige Edition, will have to purchase the Battle Pass and then grind and grind and grind just to get that one skin.
Mm-hmm. So, just a brief history on the Battle Pass. So, the Battle Pass actually started from Dota 2 as a way to hype up their tournament, their big tournament, the International, which features a huge cash prize. I think it was probably the first $1 million tournament, I believe. TI1, I think, had $1 million prize pot, and that was to drive excitement into the Dota 2. So the thing that was special though about the international battle pass, and now they obviously do battle passes for smaller tournaments, but Dota's battle passes generally have it so that a part of the money that players pay to the battle pass actually goes to the tournament prize pot. So I believe you pay $10 for the battle pass, 25% of it will go to the prize pot of the tournament, which is pretty unique. I think it's actually a great way to monetize your tourneys, right? So like if there's more people buying these things, then obviously I think this is a great thing that Valve does for their professional players, is that their tournaments are also sponsored by the players because they actually have battle passes now for smaller tournaments, and a portion of those actually go to the tournament. At least, as if I can recall correctly, I don't follow the Dota battles. I don't play Dota anymore, so I'm not sure if this is still how they do it. But I know that when I was playing it, a portion of the battle pass would go towards the tournament that the battle pass was associated with, which I think is definitely a great way for for the developer to support the tournament scene in the game. So and
it's something to brag about too. Like if you say that, oh, 1 million people bought battle passes, and now our tournament prize pool is $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so definitely, but I think the battle pass format though was popularized by Fortnite. So Fortnite, I think they call it the season pass, but it's still the same thing where you play it, you buy this, and so just like I said for skins, right? When you buy a battle pass, you know exactly what you're getting, right? There's nothing really random about it. Like you need to get these a certain amount of levels, and then once you at each level you get a certain prize. So absolutely, this that's how the battle pass works. So it kind of combines like it's still monetization, but you need to play. And just like IDK
Right.
said, you need to play, or you need to get into a habit of playing this game every day, basically. Because battle passes are normally structured by getting like your by playing one game a day. Like you get a reward for playing your first game of the day or first win of the day, and then
It's
after
such a
that,
weird concept
yeah. So I think.
because
Go ahead.
sorry,
Go
sorry, go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say it's such a weird concept because not only are you paying for content, but you have to play in order to get the content. Like I just want the content, and you're telling me to spend more time on it, and I think it works because people love to make any progression
Mm-hmm.
and just the way you structure it. And uh, for battle passes, aren't aren't the rewards like secret or hidden? Like you don't know what you're buying into, but you're just buying it past.
No, no. At least all the games that I've played. So Magic Arena has a battle pass. Obviously, League, TFT and League also have battle passes. And what else? And Apex Legends have battle pass too. In all those games, all the rewards you don't even need to buy it to see what the rewards are. You can see it as at each level they unlock. The problem usually though, each battle pass has special rewards that you could only get in the battle pass. So like TFT has certain rewards you can only find. You can't actually buy any of them. You need to get the battle pass to have them. Same with
Yeah.
Apex Legends as well.
Yeah, that's the same as buying content, but in this case, you're buying content and you have to play for
Yes,
it,
yes.
which
So
is
Yeah.
wild. It's bizarre.
so absolutely, but generally the battle passes, if you max them out, have good value. Like because you first of all you aren't directly buying any of the content, right? So obviously in the battle pass there'll be content you don't care about. But usually in games that have a battle pass, it's just good value in general to get it. Like you definitely get your money's worth in terms of like like a skin normally costs like let's say costs like $5, right? Oh, the battle pass is worth $20, but you get 10 skins, right? So each skin is $2 instead. Now you might not want to play with most of them, but there might be one that you do enjoy playing with, right? So generally, battle passes for the content that's inside, it's like a bundle. You're buying a bundle, right? It's definitely a good deal, generally,
And you have to
Yeah.
play.
and you have to play.
And you had to
Yes.
play.
It's
I,
crazy.
I did forget to mention this. I was looking it up, but for League, the battle passes, you can buy them, and they have that exclusive prestige skin. You need tokens to purchase.
Yep.
However, to shortcut people who don't want to play, you have to buy the battle pass, and then you go back into the store and uh, you can buy an item that lets you get the tokens for the event for that skin. But you have to buy a lot of them, and they come in orbs. You buy orbs, you open the orbs, and you get tokens with each orb purchase, along with other stuff too.
Yep.
So if you want it, you can spend a lot of money and get it, or you can just grind and play. You pay that one-time fee of the battle pass to grind, get the prestige skin, you're done. You don't get anything else. Or you buy the battle pass and then you buy a bunch of these orbs, get tokens, get everything you want, and then maybe play a little bit to unlock the rest of the stuff. Which, in a business sense, is genius because you appeal to both groups, the people who will just simply put their one-time fee in, grind, keep playing the game, so there's players in your game for other people to play against who just want to play, and then the the whales, we're gonna come on in and be like, hey, I want that cool skin. Here's a bucket of money. Thank you very much.
So I do want to point out. So like I said, I actually think Dota's battle passes, they do it the best. Like it's the most unique out of all the games, because like I said, just the whole fact that when you buy it, a portion of it goes to the tournament. And I know there are players that they track the tournament winnings too. You can see a bar graph of how much the prize pot is for the tournament. And there are players that will track it like, oh, look how much it's gonna hit it. And they actually track the progress of each year. They actually have graphs where you can see the progress that was made to see if a tournament is doing, it's gonna get more viewers or not in that regard. But Dota's Battle Pass also has special features. So when you buy the Battle Pass, there's like unique game modes that are locked behind it, and there's actually loot boxes associated with the Battle Pass as well. So like when you get it, so I haven't bought a TI pass in a long time, but I watched my brother get this year's one, and it's pretty crazy. Like what's in the Battle Pass, like there's a lot of content in there, but there's also loot boxes and stuff in there, and they have a roulette that like you can roll the loot boxes away to get more content. It's pretty like.
They put on a spectacle of an event. Of course, the big issue is thanks to a certain virus going around. TI still hasn't happened yet, and now people are getting a little antsy about it. Yes. But battle passes.
Do you guys think these are predatory?
No, not particularly. Even with the whole, there's a very rare skin at the end of this battle pass, or if you grind it up, you can get. It's not as enticing. It's not as predatory as, say, loot boxes, where you have to buy the loot boxes to roll to have a chance to get it. It's a choice. You buy the pass, you grind, or you buy the pass, you buy orbs to get tokens to get it. There is a way to get there. You will not be stuck in limbo forever trying to get it. Yeah, I think it's fine. It's just another option for the consumer to get a return on their investment of time in the game. You're going to play the game a lot. Might as well buy the battle pass. You'll get a bunch of stuff for it. And you'll reward your time more so than if you just didn't. And still play the game a bunch.
Yeah, I understand that battle passes contain a lot of value, but just the concept is so crazy because you're spending something that you typically would get, but instead you're spending on something that you have to continue playing and put time in order to receive the rewards. And I think that's so bizarre.
So I actually think this is more predatory than skins.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely more predatory than skins, and but it's on a different axis. It's on a different axis. Like the axis I'm talking about here is predatory in that it forces you to keep playing the game, and that's ultimately the goal of the battle pass is to keep you engaged with the game. They want you to log in every day. They want you to play every day, so they can keep the daily player counts up and make sure that everybody. And basically, it's to keep players in the game. It's to keep them hooked into the game. I think in that regard it's predatory, because like we said previously, right? They want you to make it a habit to keep playing the game, and that like with the skins, it is like what IDK said. It is they want to make it a habit, but this is definitely I think this is predatory. It's just it doesn't want your money; it wants your time instead. Ultimately, like you are paying for this, right? And it is good value, but ultimately, what they really want you to pay with is your time. And I think in that regard, it is predatory. All right, so I guess the last thing we should discuss here is, and I know, and this is actually pretty uncommon, but this I do want to make this point here. It's player trading. So this is seen in Dota, or basically in Steam Marketplace, in which Dota is a part of, and we did see this with the auction house. In the now shut down auction house in Diablo 3, where players can sell their in-game merchandise to other players for cash, and the company takes a cut. And Steam Marketplace was definitely the first place where they did this, where you can sell your Team Fortress hats, your Dota 2 items, and things like that. And then Diablo 3 also tried it as well, but it didn't work out. So, what do you guys think about this kind of monetization where the devs allow you to sell your things to other people for cash and they take a cut from it?
I feel like. Go ahead.
No, you go first.
I was gonna say it's so. I think it was Diablo 1 or 2 that popularized not only. Yeah, I guess it is player trading or account trading or account selling, where they sell their accounts because they have very good loot. Um, yeah, in this case, I feel like that system, this current system, is to cater to that old way of playing the game, or in this case, like making money. I just feel like it's a stupid system in the first place. Like, I don't think it should exist at all. I don't think it provides that much value. I think it creates more headaches than it ought to be, and um, yeah, I think it maybe, and also for WoW too, like that also exists where people can buy WoW accounts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, but
That has
so
like
in this
other
specific case, I'm
loots.
not talking about accounts. So I'm just talking about in-game items. You sell your in-game items, not your account.
Mm.
I don't think you can account trade in the Steam Marketplace. Definitely not. You can sell your items though.
I think I have very limited experience using the Steam Marketplace for selling like items from games. But with the Diablo 3, like uh, the marketplace or whatever, I think it kind of solved the issue of that we had from previous earlier with the card games like Hearthstone, where you put money in, you get card packs, and then you have all these extra cards, and the only thing you can do is dust them, and then use that dust to like hopefully get a card you actually want. But at the end of the day, you can't get your money back out of the game. You put $100 in, it's gone. You get dust or cards. That's it. Unless you like illegally sell your account to someone else or something. Um, with the marketplace, though, having that ability. So for what was the card game?
Artifact.
It died. I'll put it out.
Artifact.
Artifact. So the fact that you could purchase Artifact, open up your packs, find a rare card, turn around, and sell it on the marketplace, get your money back for the game. I mean, that was good for the players at least, right? It wasn't great for Artifacts, didn't help it stay alive. But if you as a player got this game and you were playing it and you managed to get a rare card, you didn't need it or want it, and you want to get your money back for the game, you could sell the card, take your money, and just drop the game. That's it. You got rid of that sunken cost fallacy because you were freed. And same for Diablo 3. You did the marketplace, you got a rare piece of armor, you sold it, you got your money back for the game. You were done. You could keep playing, you got your money back, and try to sell more items and get actually money out of it, but you didn't have to. So in that sense, I think it's actually quite good for a player to have that option or ability to do that. Now, was it great for the games themselves? Hell no. The marketplace in Diablo 3 ruined it. People were just farming to get items and then selling them on the marketplace for a lot of real-time money or for a lot of in-game gold. And it totally threw off the whole skew of the game. There's a reason why it had to be pulled out and the game had to be balanced again around not having a marketplace. It skewed it that much. And Artifact obviously is no longer around, so having that marketplace option didn't help keep it alive. People weren't actively trading cards so they could build better decks. People were just selling out so they could get their money back from a dead game.
Yeah, Artifact had a lot of problems. But I think I actually prefer Artifact's way of monetizing the game because they should get your money out of the game. But the problem is now you can't have an online CGG use that model anymore. I feel like your CGG has to be free to play. It has to be accessible and free to play now. If you
Yeah.
want an active player base, like Artifact's way of doing it, to me is the correct way of doing it, right? Because that way you can balance the game easily. Because players can trade their cards, and if you ban something, it's fine. You can sell your deck and you can buy a new deck, right? It's definitely much more consumer friendly. But people don't want to sink money into an online game like that, which is why it failed. Definitely the consumers rejected it. But I think this player trading thing, I don't think it's predatory at all. I think it's great that you can sell your your things to other players. But remember how I asked the question at the beginning of this is like, can it be predatory? And this player trading has been proven to be predatory. So I don't know if you guys know this. So going back to what IDK said, right? About the skins and loot boxes, right? So this is really, really big now in the C marketplace. So the loot box will have a very, very rare item in it. And that item can sell probably for $100 because the chance is so low. So people, they will buy these loot boxes and try to hit the jackpot. It's literally a lotto ticket, right? And then when you hit the lotto ticket, you sell it to somebody. And in this case, Steam wins, right? They charge you for the loot box, and then when you get the $100 item and you sell it to somebody, they take 10% of it. So they make another $10 off of the sale, right? So that's one way it's predatory. There's another way that is a lot more shady. So I read about it today. So what happens is you get this really rare skin. Instead, you take the skin and then you basically give it to a website. You send it to an account associated with the website, and then the website will deposit money into a wallet for you. And you can use that money to go gambling. You can gamble with the money to win an even rarer skin. So, like, I know my brother has, I think, did I get it or did he get it? So he got, so he routinely gets like really rare Counter-Strike skins. And then he doesn't sell them on the Steam Marketplace. He donates it to a website and they sell it for him and he gets the money. So that he doesn't have to take that 10% hit. Instead, the website takes like 3 to 5% instead. So it's much lower.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I did read that I've read this about this before, where people, they will try to gamble for rare skins like this, where like they'll get a rare skin, they'll give it to a website and they'll convert it and they'll do like some online gambling to try to turn it into more money. I know it was a big issue in the past, and I think it's still currently an issue, but it was a lot worse back then as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking about that, reminded me of CS:GO being the other one, the big Steam game that has trading between players, and like just opening up one of those loot boxes and getting a rare knife.
Yeah, rare knife. Yeah, it's a knife. It's always a knife.
A rare gun, like with a unique spray paint on it, and just putting it on the marketplace and selling it for thousands of dollars and finding someone to buy it, who will actually buy it. Or, like you mentioned, there was that controversy of the guys who had 2 of the biggest gambling sites where
yes, yeah.
They'd sell it to them or give it to them for them to roulette it in like a gamble.
Yes, the roulette, yes.
And they would go on and advertise like, oh yeah, look, we just spin the roulette. And then they would win big. And like, yeah, I won big, yeah. And it was false advertising because they were modifying the rules so they would win when they were streaming it because they were the owners of those websites.
Yes.
And then, people found that out. They got sued. There was a big legal controversy about it.
Yeah.
But, like, it's kind of like, oh, well, here's this gift. You can use it for whatever you want to. And people found good ways to use it.
Yep.
And people found a way to abuse it.
Yeah. So I think by nature, player trading is not predatory. It can be predatory if you go down the wrong avenue. But player trading is actually, I think it's great for players. Because you can actually literally sell out of the game that you played. It's like, imagine if IDK got the option to sell all his skins on League. Like, imagine, look at him. Imagine if he's like, all right, I'm done with League. I'm selling all my skins. In Dota, you can actually do that. Like, you can take all your skins, cosmetics, and you can sell them and sell out of the game completely. Like, yeah. I think player trading is great for players. It's great for the developers, right? It's great. It's a win-win for everybody. You can get your money back. I think that's the great part about this. Now, all the shady ass stuff, like that's not so great. But I think player trading is. I think, in my opinion, out of everything that we've talked about today, I think it's one of the best ways to monetize your game.
Yeah. Let players sell what they get from your game to make some money themselves, and just take a little cut from it. You still keep making money on top.
Because
If you really want to make money from the transactions.
I have a question though.
Because,
So how would it work if, let's say, you're Dota and you're selling a skin on you're selling a skin for some character, but you go to the marketplace and you find a skin for much cheaper? Doesn't that conflict with how they want to make money off their skins?
actually, a lot of skins now they are cheaper than market. But you remember, keep this in mind. If players buy direct from Steam, Steam makes money, and if the market price of it falls lower than that, and people start trading on the marketplace, it's fine too because Steam makes money on every single one of those transactions, right? Like it's not as much, but they're still making money. And,
but
and every time an item flows, like a player sells it, they get 10%. Player doesn't like it, then they sell it. And remember, this is just like video games, right? If you try to sell your skin, or if someone is selling their skin at below market price, someone had to buy it from Steam first. So like let's say that there's a $10 skin. Someone has to buy the $10 skin first. So Steam has already made $10. Now
Yeah.
someone wants to sell it for $9. They sell it for $9 instead, and then another player buys it from them instead of from Steam. Steam doesn't get the $10, but they've already made $10 off the skin that person is selling, and now they're making 10% of that, which is 90 cents.
But they could have made $20.
They could have, but I think this is more consumer friendly. They could have, but it didn't matter because they're still making the money out of it. They're making money on every single transaction. Maybe it's not as egregious, but also consumers, it's friendly for the consumer because you can buy it for cheaper too, right? You can buy the skin for cheaper too, and it makes you more likely to buy it cheaper. Like if there was a skin for $10, I might not buy it, but if I can buy it for $5, then I'll do it then. And then Steam gets 50 cents. It's not too bad, right? So anyways, I think the player trading is definitely, in my opinion, I think it's very consumer friendly. It's very, very consumer friendly. And because it's consumer friendly, that's why you can do all this shady shit with it. All right, so I think we're running out of time here, but some things we didn't discuss, but I think we kind of touched upon. So there's for DLC there's season passes. That's another way to monetize your games. Crossover events, which we kind of touched on with Minecraft with our initial conversation, and then finally subscriptions, which have largely fallen out of favor, but are still still used in MMOs. And then one thing as well as the early access, but this is usually tied to pre-orders. So let's just wrap it up, and then with what we were talking about just earlier, what kind of monetization do you guys prefer to see in your games? That you would like while the developers still get paid.
Skins.
Well, yeah, I like skins. I like skins of pretty waifus I can buy. And cool doodles.
Skins and expansions, DLC. I don't really see anything wrong with that unless they're like intentionally cutting content out of their game, out of the full game. Yeah.
Yeah. Skins, story DLC that wasn't cut from the game. It was like legit. Maybe this is something we can do in the future if this game does well, and it does well, so we can actually build an additional story. I'm thinking like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They had the base game, it did well enough, and they made Torna, the expansion DLC or whatever. The story they wanted to tell in the game, but didn't have enough time. So they went, built it after it did well, and then released it later. And then I think for me, number 3 would be battle passes. I don't mind them. They're better than loot boxes, better than gacha. It's solid third. Like I will buy a good battle pass. Now, if the battle pass is crap and it's there to make you just grind and just make you hate your life, no, I'm not going to buy it. But if it's a decent battle pass and you can actually get some good rewards from it just from playing the game, toss a couple coins to your local developer. Help support them, and enjoy yourself at the same time, I guess.
Are there any? Do you guys see the future of monetization in games? You guys think that any new schemes will come up, or maybe any schemes that you guys think or any schemes that you guys think are a good idea for monetizing games?
Mm,
Some form of ads. I was just thinking about Among Us and how it's free to play on your phone, and it just show you an ad. I think that's yeah. I think that's something I'd be okay with if all my games had that, where you play like a 10-minute round game, and then you just see an ad, and it's like okay, that's fine. So imagine seeing that after playing a LOL match. Wouldn't be
yeah,
too bad.
fine. Uh, a different form of DLC we haven't seen yet. I can't really think of anything. I'm sure someone will think of something new. I guess. I mean, maybe I would. League of Legends. This is League of Legends specific, but League of Legends has kind of an issue right now with people playing on things they call Smurfs.
Mm.
They're separate accounts, not tied to their original one. Where they can play with lower level players, or they want to focus on one specific role. They can do that. And I would definitely want as DLC for League of Legends the ability to buy a Smurf from Riot, and have it tied to my main account, and have it share everything I bought with it, just so I can have a different username and start at the base again. It's an odd form of DLC to be sure, buying another account and having it tied to your main one, but it's kind of like the idea of alts in MMOs. Like, this is my tank, this is my healer, this is my DPS. I have two separate accounts for them, so I can keep them all separate. And that way I can manage what I'm going to play for the day via that. Um, I don't know if that. Yeah, it's just League of Legends.
It's just the one issue with that is that you're separated with other players based on your skill set. So that's why I think Smurfs are really bad for the game. Because if you're
They
talking
are,
about
yeah, but Riot has already. Riot has actually taken action against Smurfs now, so the game can very accurately detect when you're a Smurf and put you in a Smurf queue. You're just against other Smurfs. But the thing is, by making it so that you actually can buy a Smurf account and attach it to your main one so that they're linked, they don't have to like have an algorithm detect whether you are a Smurf or not. It can know, oh, this guy should not get paired with the guy who just started the game. He should get paired with guys who already know the game but are at the same skill level he's playing at. He's playing a different role. He sucks. He wants to get better at it. Like that sort of ability to have everything I bought for my main account be useful on sub accounts. I can enjoy the game in different ways. That's kind of the DLC I would want for League, anyways.
what about you, Kagros? What's the future of
So
monetization?
I just thought of something that we didn't talk about, and that's actually demos, which is kind of a way of
Um,
monetizing your games as well. And I know, so I can't really think of any new way to do it. Like I think for me, I would really like to see player trading implemented more. Especially in these free to play games, because I want to be able to sell off my units and things like that. Right? Like if I'm done with a game, I want to sell out, and it'd be great if I was a free to play player as well, and I could sell out and I actually make a little bit of money for playing the game. Obviously, it's not minimum wage, right? Nowhere near minimum wage, but I think that would be great. But like thinking back on it, I think one thing that developers can do is to sell a light version of their game. So it's not exactly a demo, but you sell like a light version of your game, and then players they can. So let's say you have a $60 game. Let's take like Persona 5 Royal as an example. Okay, so let's say that it's a $60 game, and you pay $10 to basically get from the game up to the end of the first palace, and then at that point you can decide: do I like the game? if then then I'll pay the remainder of the cost to get the full game, or maybe a little bit more. So let's say it like this. Let's say you can pay $30 half price. You'll get access to the first two palaces. And then afterwards, if you decide you like it, then you have to pay, or let's say you pay $35 for access to the first two palaces. If you decide you like it, then you can pay another $35 and it unlocks the rest of the game. Right? So the developer gets a little bit more out of you, but you get a lighter version of the game. And like you said, we all have huge backlogs, right? We might not even get to them. So then you're basically paying for safety. We're like, oh, what if I don't end up playing the game? I don't have to pay the full $60. So I think something like that would be beneficial to consume, or it'd be a win-win for everybody, because the developer gets make a little bit more money. Maybe some they would lose money a little bit where someone ends up buying just the light version rather than the full version. But I think something like that I would like to see an option like that.
So they do have a version of that where it's a free version.
Mm-hmm.
So an example is Phoenix Wright on your phone. You get to play the first crime or case, and afterwards you can pay for the entire game.
Each episode, right? I think on the phone you pay for each episode, right?
I think it's like you pay for several episodes.
Oh, okay.
Not just one.
I think something like that. I think having that option would be good. I think that would be a good way to make a little bit more money. I think having the option is good. I'm not saying release your games like that. No, don't do that. Just have the option for players to buy a light version, and then if they decide they like it, then they can buy the full version. And I do know there are some games, like actually Call of Duty. The latest Call of Duty now has Warzone, where you can actually play the Battle Royale version for free, and then if you decide you like it, you can buy the full Call of Duty game. So I think developers, they've gone quite creative. I'm sure some scumbag with a MBA is going to find another way to monetize these games, right? Find another scummy way to monetize these games. So I don't think we are nearly at the end of it.
Well, I mean, something we didn't bring up at, well, I'm not sure if it's really too relevant, but do you remember in the old days when they used to sell passes for games like Mortal Kombat 9? Like, you bought the game and it came with like an online pass.
Oh, yes.
Play online, and then if someone bought the game used, they had to buy another pass.
Yes.
I could definitely see that.
CD keys. They're basically like CD keys then, right?
I could definitely see that coming back in like a different variant. Like going back to your Call of Duty example, like I know the newest Call of Duties have allowed you to buy the game, and then you install the whole thing, and then when you're done playing the single player mode or you're done playing the multiplayer mode, you can delete one or the other and just keep one of them. Like the game is splittable into parts. If you want to save room and you play through the campaign, you're done. You can just delete that and just keep the multiplayer section. Now I posit to you, my gentlemen, what if a player could play the game, beat the single player mode, turn around and sell that single player portion? Instead of deleting it, they could sell that portion of the game to a friend who just wants to play the single player mode. And the developer's got a cut from that sale.
I think that's fine. Like I said, that's similar to player trading.
Like 50%. It's technically they're taking a loss on it because that player isn't buying the full thing. But, in the future where we're going to start losing physical media, digital games.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Digital games have lost the ability to be resellable. Well, if developers can make money from that by having people sell the digital games themselves or by cutting them into pieces and selling them, there's still money to be made.
Someone hire this man. Someone hire this man. He is the future. I am 100% behind this kind of idea.
I think it would be really cool.
This follows the player trading idea, right? Like we discussed, right? Like it's like you can sell your shit and the developer gets a cut. I think this is a win-win for everybody. It's a win for everybody.
Pretty much. And the thing is, like, you can sell that at a loss to the developer, sure, and you get benefit from selling that single player mode. But your friend might play the single player mode, buy it at a discount, play it, enjoy it, and be like, well, I want the multiplayer. And then they have to go buy the multiplayer from someone else and see how it just sort of chains around.
Exactly. Someone hired this man. Go call Activision. Zach, I got a great idea.
But, and something we also didn't touch on. I'm not sure if it's technically a microtransaction thing, but it's coming in the future. Activision has patented it. They have a process by which they will have players match up with other players who bought DLC, special guns, special armor, whatever, get crushed by them, see what they bought.
Oh, yes. I've seen this.
In the game over screen and be like, I want to buy that, and then have the ability to directly buy those things. Like directly influencing people to buy stuff because they got beat by it.
Yep. I've seen this before. I've seen it.
That may be a future DLC. You might play a fighting game and someone beats your ass with a special character with a special skin, and the game will be like, go to shop to buy character and skin? Like, what the hell, man? You think I'm some sort of weak? You think I'm a weakling? But that could be the future too.
I hope not. I really hope not. I don't wish for any future that you two brought up. I really do not like the player trading at all. I think that cheapens the game. Games are already expensive to make. They would have to sell a lot more copies. I think it's a lose-lose for everyone, my opinion.
The thing is, right now, people buy a physical copy of the game, and then they can either hand it off to their friend, they can sell it back to GameStop, and then GameStop will sell it to someone else. The developer gets zero money from those transactions. If a person buys a digital version of the game and they're done playing it and they can sell it to their friend, let's say they get split into parts, they're just a full game. You can sell it to your friend at a reduced price, and the developer still gets a decent chunk of the profit from it. The developer's still getting money from it. They don't lose technically in that transaction. They don't lose 100% per se. I mean, they're still losing the full price of the game, but at the very least, they're still getting money from that.
Yeah, just like IDK said, like in the past, right? You can sell your game when all the games were physical, right? And you can buy a used copy.
You can sell it, and lend it. The developer wouldn't get any of it. And the issue too this is a whole nother sort of topic for another time, but about game companies and the money they make and how they keep claiming video games are very expensive to make, and yeah, they kind of are. But the profits from the video games don't seem to be going to the creators of the games. They seem to be going to a certain special suit of people at the top who get nice vacations and yachts and summer homes, while the developers are working their fingers to the bone. So, another topic for another day, but yeah.
All right. So on that note, I think we should end our episode. I think we had a really nice discussion about monetization in video games. So thanks IDK, Juicy, and to the listeners for listening to this episode. I hope it was insightful for everybody, and I definitely enjoyed talking about this particular topic because it affects all of us, right? It affects all of us gamers and how companies want to make money off of us. So I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. So I guess until next time, thanks for listening.
Until next time, friends. Bye-bye.